Hey everybody, Mike here, and it is time for the Transformers Rise of the Beasts spoiler review. I was thinking about doing a non-spoiler review, but I figured most of the people who watch this channel have already seen the movie, or they plan on seeing the movie and they really don't care about a spoiler-free review. They just want to get to the spoilers when they do see it. So I'm going to be skipping the spoiler-free version, just going to go straight to the spoilers. I figured that's just the best way to do it. So, I'm going to start off by saying that I really enjoyed this movie. I had a great time on opening night going with a bunch of friends. It was such a great time. Just seeing, or hearing, all the theater, laughing at all the jokes and, just having a great time and, cheering, when Bumblebee came back at the end. It was just a great experience, and I love having those Transformers experiences like that, which really hasn't happened in such a long time. I mean, with The Last Night, it kind of didn't have that great of a reception, and then Bumblebee didn't really have any of those, whoa moments. So kind of just being in that environment again is super cool, and I had a great time. The movie, I really enjoyed it. The first time I've seen it 3 times so far. The first time I saw it, it was just super great on opening night. The second time I saw it, I feel like that declined a little bit. But then the third time I saw it, I found myself enjoying it more again. So I'm pretty sure I was just kind of feeling a little tired when I went the second time. I did go late at night for an IMAX showing, and I think that kind of had something to do with it. So I did start enjoying it more again in the third showing. It is a very short movie. The pacing is just super quick, and I feel like the plot does suffer from it a little bit. Or it could just be that I'm so used to having such long Transformers movies. Usually the Michael Bay ones are 2 hours and 40 minutes or so. But at the same time, I still do think that it could have benefited from being maybe 2 hours and 20 minutes. There were some things that could have had more explaining, we just kind of dropped in some references to time and potentially time travel, but no explanation. And it kind of leaves you hanging to where, in fact, Stephen Caple Jr. has said that time travel was a lot more important to the plot early on in earlier drafts of the movie, but then they kind of ended up removing all that. And in fact, they removed one of the big lines from the first trailer from Optimus Primal regarding time travel. And I think by removing so much of that, but yet still leaving that little bit in there, and it was just basically one line from AirRaiser, it kind of makes you question, it kind of brings more questions than I think what would happen if they just explained more of it. So I'm going to be making a Making Sense of Transformers video on that, because it's a little confusing. So I did have a problem with that, but overall, the movie was great. It was enjoyable. It was funny. It had good characters, good Transformers characters. We'll get into the humans in a second. Also, the music was really great. Great job to Jongnik Botemps. I think that's how you pronounce his name. I'm not positive now, but I've kind of heard it some different ways now, so I need to check on that. But his music was really good. I enjoyed it, and bringing in Steve Jablonsky was just icing on the cake. When Arrival to Earth played at the end, and some of the other themes from throughout the past Transformers movies, it was just so satisfying, especially with that Optimus Prime speech at the end. Super cool. I do want to talk about the characters. I'll start out with the humans. We had 2 main human characters in this one, and that was really it. It was Noah and Elena, played by Anthony Ramos and Dominique Fishback. So, these characters, the actors did a good job with the characters. I think it was more of a mixture for me of writing not being super great, and also being reintroduced to yet another main human cast. We were introduced after having Sam and Michaela in the first 2 movies. In the third movie, we get okay, now we have to get introduced to Carly. And then in the 4th movie, okay, now we need to get introduced to Cade and his daughter. And then in the fifth movie, it was Cade and Isabella. And then in Bumblebee, it was, okay, here's Charlie. And then now in this one, here's Noah and Elena. So it's like being reintroduced to so many characters. It's like, it's hard to get attached to these people right away, because even though it's like, okay, in a movie, a lot of movies, you have to get attached to characters in that first movie. But like, when you're in a Transformers movie, and humans shouldn't be the main focus, it's definitely just kind of hard to kind of keep going through this whole process over and over and over again of the main humans of the movie being introduced to Transformers for the first time. It kind of just feels a little overdone. So I think with that aspect, it was kind of, I'm kind of getting a little tired with the main character of the movie being like, a Transformer, oh my goodness, what's this? Yeah, so I think that's kind of my main problem. Because both Anthony Ramos and Dominique Fishback did a great job. I really don't have any problems with their acting. It's kind of just more like character moments that I'm like, I'm not sold on. In fact, they kind of tried to bring a little bit more like concern for these characters with Noah's brother, and it was like, okay, so he had this sickle cell problem, and he needed to go to the hospital and get treatment and all that, and I kind of just found myself being like, I don't really care, let's just get to the Transformers. I really don't, I understand that like you need to kind of make the audience care for Noah and his family and kind of the hard times he's gone through, but I really didn't feel like it was necessary, especially when both Noah's and Elena's character arcs were kind of wrapped up in a mid-credit scene. For Noah, his he finally gets the job, and his brother finally gets the treatment that he needs for free, and then Elena finally gets recognition for the discovery in Peru, and all of that happened in the mid-credit scene, which made it seem like an afterthought, and the characters really didn't reach their arc in the main movie. Also, I was not a big fan of Dominique Fishback's character Elena singing when she was nervous. It felt like very just like thrown in there. Like it wasn't really necessary. It kind of just dragged the plot down like an extra 15-20 seconds. It's like we can just kind of move on without like that part. But it kind of feels like I'm harping on it, but those were just my main complaints, and it's just kind of hard. I mean, it's kind of easier to talk about the complaints than like, oh, I really like this. So, overall, I thought the humans were fine. Just kind of those little nitpicky things that kind of bothered me. For the Transformers, let's just go one by one. Optimus Prime, super grumpy in this one. He still kind of had his like Bayverse essence of kind of like going for taking faces off and all that, and very angry. I'm gonna take off his head. So that was still there, and I don't have a problem with that. I never did have a problem with that. So I kind of liked seeing that version of Optimus Prime still. He did feel, like I said, a little bit more grumpy in this one, but I think Peter Cullen just really performed well in this movie. Like, his voice acting is always great, but in Rise of the Beast, he just did a tremendous job. I don't know what it was, if it was Stephen Cable Jr.'s direction or what, but you really felt some emotion in Optimus Prime's voice in this movie. Bumblebee, sidelined throughout most of the movie. He was there up toward the, getting killed by Scourge when the museum battle happened, and then didn't show up until he was revived for the final battle. And I think that worked out because it gave Mirage more of a time to shine, but it was a bummer not seeing that Camaro more, because that is just such a cool looking Camaro. I love that car. Also, I hate that they spoiled all of the Bumblebee stuff. Like, they spoiled the fact that he was killed. They spoiled the fact that he came back to life for the final battle. Like, I knew all that just from watching the main trailers, like, without even getting to the TV spots. And I barely watched any TV spots for this movie, and I feel like that was kind of an ongoing thing of them giving away too much. I only watched the trailers and a couple of TV spots, and I felt like I knew most of the movie, unfortunately. I feel like they just gave away way too much. But, like I said, I do like the fact that they did sideline Bumblebee, even though I did kind of miss him as a character. I think it gave the other characters more of a time to shine. And that'll bring me into Mirage, who was just the pure standout. Opening night, when watching this movie, I just fell in love with Mirage's character. Like, he is such a great pairing with Noah, and the comedy was perfect. Pete Davidson, I think, kind of went off the script a lot and kind of did a lot of ad-libbing because it was just phenomenal humor. Like, all the jokes hit. Like you've been inside me, or just don't ask me what part of my body it came from. It was just great humor, and I loved his character. The mass shifting thing was a little weird, but my ultimate, like, immediate headcanon with the dump truck was that it was a mirage, it was holograms. And it seems like in an earlier version of the movie shown last year, it was made more apparent that that was the case. So that's definitely my headcanon, that I don't like the whole mass shifting thing. And then his death was really emotional. I felt emotion watching that, and I know that the people I was watching the movie with also felt emotion watching that, and it seems kind of the general feeling with Mirage's death that happened there. He does come back, which does not happen until the post-credits scene, or the mid-credits scene, but which is good and bad. It's bad because everything paid off with his character. Like, his death was very emotional, and it made you feel something. So, unfortunately, it does take that away. However, Mirage is such a great character that I want to see more of him in future movies. So when we get this sequel to Rise of the Beasts, we're going to get more Mirage, and I'm very happy for that. And then also him turning into the mech suit, I was not expecting that. I thought that the mech suit looked like Mirage in the trailers, but I was not expecting Mirage to actually become the mech suit. I was a little, like, off-put at first, because I'm like, he kind of, like, shrunk. But I did notice that, like, not all of his parts formed into that suit. There is, I think, a continuity error where you don't see any of his body parts laying around, unfortunately. But I noticed that when transforming into that suit for Noah, that not all of the parts attached. RC, not a huge highlight of the movie, but I really liked her character. She did have some moments to shine, especially in the little short battle where she is kind of rollerblading next to Wheeljack. I thought that was a great scene, and I thought that the voice actors did a good job. For being a YouTuber, I was not disappointed with the voice acting. So I overall really liked RC as a character. Wheeljack is the one I had a problem with. There was no reason whatsoever to make Wheeljack look the way he did. He could have easily looked the way he did in Bumblebee with some tweaks like they did with Bumblebee and Optimus Prime. Unfortunately, that's just kind of... It kind of harkens back to the Bayverse, where you have a Transformer that kind of resembles nothing like previous incarnations. The only problem with this, though, is that we already saw Wheeljack in the Bumblebee movie just 7 years ago, in like the movie timeline, and now we're seeing him here having a completely different voice, having a completely different personality. Even though we only had like the one line in the Bumblebee movie, you can tell, but it's a different personality. And also, it doesn't feel like the same character. You say, oh, that's Wheeljack in the first movie in Bumblebee, and then now it's like, this is Wheeljack now. It doesn't feel connected at all, and that's kind of unfortunate because, like I said, there was no reason for it. There was no plot reason for his change, and also he was very underutilized too. And I believe in some test screenings back from 2022, he kind of had more lines and more involvement, kind of had that like relationship with RC going on that they ended up cutting out of the movie. And I feel like it's like, if you're gonna make that big of a design change, there's gotta be a reason for it, and unfortunately there wasn't. So that was like the one character thing Transformers wise that I really didn't care for. As far as the Maximals, Primal was a great character, great lead character, opposite of Optimus Prime. Not really too much to say as far as details, but I did really like his character, and I'm excited to see more of him. And then really the only other Maximal that had a lot of screen time was Airazor. Airazor was a huge standout character. Really loved her character, and there was definitely, just like Mirage, a lot of emotion when she got killed by Optimus Primal, because Scourge ended up kind of zombifying her and making her turn to their side through, like, mind control and that type of thing. That was played out really well. There was just enough of, like, internal struggle where it wasn't, like, overdone, but it was enough where it's like, oh yeah, like she's trying to fight it off. Like, there was just the perfect balance there, and I think she was a great way to introduce the Maximals to the Autobots. Great with exposition, kind of explaining what they are. Just overall a great character. I have no complaints about Airazor. Now, as far as the Terrorcons, Nightbird and Battletrap. Nothing special. Nothing special. They really don't have much time to shine. Most of the focus is really on Scourge, unfortunately. We really don't get to see the other two kind of do too much on their own. So there's really not too much to talk about, but Scourge is a great evil character. He just seems evil in this movie, and there seems to be that little bit of, like, oh, maybe he's not fully on board with the cause, but he's doing it anyway. But he's just an evil dude, and that's pretty much the way he was written in the final cut. I think it was a little bit different in the 2022 version. I really need to make a video about that, because that's an interesting topic to talk about. But Scourge was a good character. I wouldn't put him among the best like I would with Sentinel Prime and Lockdown, but I do think Scourge is maybe like a number 3 villain. Very solid, great voice acting, and really no major complaints with him. Now, I do have a problem with... this is the second straight Transformers movie where the plot ended up... Well, not the plot, but the opening scene ended up changing during production. Like in Bumblebee, we had the kind of just Bumblebee on Earth, and that switched to being on Cybertron. And then in this one, it was supposed to be a scene with Optimus Prime and Transit, and that got switched to the Maximals opening. And I love the Maximals opening, and I love the Cybertron opening, but I feel like there wasn't enough room to add them as far as messing with the plot. Both additions, both alternate opening scenes, ended up causing plot issues. In Bumblebee, it was like, okay, how did Blitzwing find Bumblebee? Doesn't really make sense. And then in this one, it's like, okay, how did Scourge and the other Terrorcons get to Earth when the Maximals use the transwarp key to escape? It's like, how did they end up finding them? Like, as soon as the transwarp key was activated by Elena, the Terrorcons were like, boom, right there, that night. So that didn't really make much sense, and I'm going to be making a Making Sense of Transformers video on that, because I think I did figure out 1 or 2 ways that this could have happened, but it's a little like, it's like they didn't think about that, and they went for like the cool extra scene, which is great, but it also kind of, the plot suffered a little bit because of it. It kind of had a little bit of a plot hole. Let's see, some topics that I kind of did touch on is, good humor. The action sequences were really great. The choreography was really great. The final battle sequence, really liked it. We had some great robot action without the too much human involvement. Of course, there was kind of like that way in Bumblebee, but it was just kind of Bumblebee versus Shatter and Dropkick. And in this one, we have all these Transformers fighting, and it's just mainly Transformers. We did get Noah in the suit, but other than that, it was like there was no, military helping out. It was just Transformer on Transformer action, just going at it, and it was a good time. And I really enjoyed the final battle, and I would have loved to see another, 20 minutes of that, because it was just so great. I really enjoyed it. And then also touch a little bit on Mirage's powers. Super creative, love it. Going back to the beginning of the movie, when the hologram was of Noah, featured different versions of Noah in the holograms. Like, I didn't even think about that. I didn't think that they were going to do that. And when I saw that, and I saw the one Noah like flipping off the cop, it was so funny. Like the humor just landed in this movie, which I'm so excited to see. That was just great. I love that. And then, unfortunately, we saw most of it, or maybe even all of it, in the trailers, except for like that couple extra seconds. But I really like Mirage's powers, and I really want to see more of that. I think I did talk about the Steve Jablonsky stuff. Having that music in there, super great. I would have loved it if there was like one Jablonsky song in the end credits as the credits rolled. I was kind of hoping for that, but we were spoiled by having his music in there. And then I did like the Autobot motif that played kind of throughout this movie. Really liked it, and I feel like even though it was used a lot, but I liked it so much that it didn't really bother me that it was used a lot, because I really like it. It's a good motif for the Autobots, and I really don't have any complaints on that. I like the music. The music was a little bit different than from what we've seen, and it was actually something that you can listen to without watching the movie. Like, you can listen to the score and have a good time listening to that, and you don't have that with Bumblebee. Bumblebee's score was kind of generic, and it's not really all that great to listen to. But with this score in this movie, it's something that you can just, start playing on Spotify or something, and just it's good music. So I was glad to see hear that the music was good in this movie. And then that will bring us to the post-credit scene, which I'm sure I'm going to make a video discussing this in detail, but of course we have the G.I. Joe scene. And am I thrilled? Because I want my Transformers to be about Transformers, and G.I. Joe is just more humans. And it's like, yeah, cool, crossover and all that, but I'm not super thrilled, and I don't know why they thought this, but I know Lorenzo de Bonaventura was saying, like, oh, the fans have been wanting this for a long time. Not really. I don't know of many fans that are like, oh yeah, G.I. Joe and Transformers. I think if done well, it can be great. It can be. My concern is, will it be done well? I know Stephen Cable Jr. is in talks to return for the next movie, so I do have some decent hopes. And I know Lorenzo de Bonaventura said that only maybe like 2 to 3 G.I. Joes will be introduced in the next movie. But I do have my concerns, but we'll see. They're trying to be like Marvel here with a crossover, and I don't know, it's kind of hard to judge until we start seeing footage of G.I. Joes interacting with Transformers. So it is what it is. I was kind of hoping it was Sector 7 there at the end, kind of just to, keep building on Sector 7 in this little Transformers pocket universe that I'm going to go ahead and say is probably not connected to the Michael Bay movies, even though Lorenzo de Bonaventura has been saying that it is, even up till like recently and at the premiere and stuff. But it's like, I feel like it's going to get to the point where even if he wants that to be the case now, then things are going to happen and directors are going to come in, whether it be Stephen Cable Jr. or someone else, and be like, hey, I think it'd be a better movie if we did this. I think it'd be a better movie if we brought in Megatron here. I think they're just going to cave and let them have their creative freedom if it's going to be a good movie, and that's going to kind of pull them out of the the Bayverse. And as I've said in my Is the Reboot or Prequel video, the only really way they can do it at this point, because of the whole Unicron situation, is having alternate universe time travel. I mean, maybe they are building toward that. Maybe that's why they've kind of been so adamant about giving answers to the question, but yet still kind of not giving a super direct answer. Maybe that's the reason. Who knows? Maybe I still think the Days of Future Past thing is possible, but at the moment, when looking at Rise of the Beast, it just doesn't seem like it would work out with the Bayverse. So, went a little off topic there, but overall, really enjoyed the movie. Definitely the best film, Transformers wise, other than Bumblebee, like the best like Transformers film, like full Transformers film since the original trilogy. I'm going to be doing a ranking for all the movies pretty soon. I don't know exactly when, but that's going to be something that's going to be coming up soon. And I just overall really enjoyed the movie. If you're a Transformers fan, most likely you're going to go out here and you're going to watch the movie and you're going to like it. And that's just great to see. It wasn't overcomplicated by a bunch of weird lore like The Last Night. It was just Autobots versus, not Decepticons, but Terrorcons, but, you know, basically the same thing almost. It was an evil Transformers. And it was a good time. I'm going to be seeing it probably a fourth time with another friend who wants to see it, so who knows. I got Regal Unlimited. I can see this movie as much as I want for free the rest of the time I go see it, so unless I see like IMAX or 3D or whatever. But it's a great movie, really enjoyed it, and I'm happy to say that I enjoyed the Transformers movie for the first time since, again, not counting Bumblebee, since 2014. And even if I'm not a huge fan of Age of Extinction, I did enjoy Age of Extinction when it came out, so, which is a long time ago, 2014, and now we're in 2023. It's almost 10 years. It's kind of crazy to think about. So it's great to, you know, be back to having a good Transformers movie. So as far as my ranking, I hate to give rankings, but I gave this ranking on Letterboxd, and I'm just going to go ahead and tell you what I think here. I gave it a 3.5 out of 5 transits as a movie, which is a solid, basically, a 7 out of 10, which, and this is like, as a movie. This is not me as a Transformers fan. This is as cinema, as film. 3.5 out of 5. Now, if I'm ranking this as a Transformers fan and I'm being biased, 4 out of 5. Great time, great movie. Either way, with either score, really enjoyed it. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. I know this has been a long video and I've kind of been rambling on, so I hope you're still here. So let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think about it. Make sure to hit that like button and subscribe. I'm going to be, you know, pumping out a lot more Transformers videos in the near future. I'm going to really try to increase the content instead of having all those times when I'm not producing a lot of videos. So hopefully you'll be seeing a lot more of me, and like I said, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Until next time, I'm Mike. See you guys.